What's up, YouTube? It's your boy Jerome, and I'm here tonight with a review for Love and Hip Hop Miami. This is season 2, episode 1, and it's titled Take It to the House. And I am so excited to be back. I've been looking forward to this since we found out when the show was coming back. When I found out it was January 2nd, I was super duper excited because today marks the 1-year anniversary that I have been doing YouTube videos. Although I've had this channel for 10 years, almost 10 years, it makes 1 year that I've started YouTube, and coincidentally, Love and Hip Hop Miami was the start of my YouTube career. So without further ado, let's get started with the review. All right, so the episode, it opened up with Trina. So Trina, she is at this radio show or whatever. It was some kind of event that she was at that this radio DJ Rico Love is hosting, and there are other women in hip hop there that she knows, and she wants to uplift and support them. And I don't know why Rico Love felt the need to mention, because he didn't necessarily say the name, but when he was talking about a woman in the industry that Trina has gotten into it with, how she does not respond to the woman, I'm like, oh my God, why are we talking about Kaya? Because that's the only person I can think of is Kaya. And I'm like, oh shit. So later on tonight on the Shade Room Baller Alert, we are going to see that Kaya went on a live rant talking about sour puss, as she calls her, sour puss. I literally hate when she does that. Like, does she still do her gag order, whatever the fuck it's called? I don't know if she still does that or not. Does T.S. Madison even still do the Queen's Supreme Court? Because I did watch that for a little bit after Kaya left, when she had Tiffany New York Pollard on there. It was pretty good, but it was a good cop, bad cop thing when it came down to Kaya and T.S. Madison. So it was an ensemble, and I did like both of them together, but apart, I couldn't take Kaya, and I could take T.S., but again, I don't know why he mentioned that girl. So then, once they finished the whole thing they were talking about, we see Rico Love and Trina sit down and talking, and they're talking about, this whole music thing between Trick and Trina. Trina lets us know that, she's been in the studio working on this album, but Trick never shows up. Anytime she calls Trick does just not show up to do anything. She's doing everything. She's, in the studio. She's sending him beats and whatnot, and he's just not having the time for it. And then also they are getting ready for the 17th anniversary of Take It to the House, which I'm like, damn, that song is that old. Like, I'm 29 years old, and I'm like, damn, I remember when that song came out. I was in middle school. I think I was in like the 6th or 7th grade. I probably was like in the 6th grade. Nope, I was in the 7th grade at that time. And I remember when that song came out. I used to get home every day from school, watch 106 in Park. What else did I used to watch back in the day? It was Rap City Basement, Hits from the Street, Cedar's World. Man, that was some shit back in the beat. That was some good shit back in the day. Like I said, they're supposed to be working on Taking Them to the House. So then we see this scene where Trina is, she said basically right now, her whole focus is working on her album and just forgetting about the Trick and Trina project, which I'm like, okay. I think we kind of all forgot about the Trick and Trina project. No offense, Trina, but I think we've all forgotten about that. So then we see Esther Roll with the burnt ass mustache. He is having his backyard barbecue, and there is this artist there by the name of Chaotic. We see Stuart Little there. We see Gunplay, and then I think it was the dude Chaotic. He asked, "Why does Amara look light in this interview?" Sorry, didn't mean to get off track because it's replaying on my TV, so that's why I said that. So they asked about Trina, and Trick says that when it comes down to Trina, that she has this diva attitude, which I can kind of see Trina having a diva attitude, but in this situation, I don't see where Trick is coming from talking about Trina has this diva attitude. I just don't see it. I think it's all Trick, because he talking about he gonna work on stuff when he wants to work on it. Much like his situation with Joy last season. He was gonna give Joy the divorce when he wants to give Joy the divorce, which ended up he does not want to give Joy a divorce. So, I just think that going back and forth is Trick. because then we see Trina. Like I said, she was in the studio. We saw her. She called Trick, and Trick was like, "Oh, here's the diva now calling me." He ignores her phone call, and I'm like, "What the fuck is that? Like, you ignore her phone call. She's trying to call you to get you to come to the studio so that y'all can work on this project that y'all supposed to been working on since last season. Like, what the fuck, Trick? Like, come on, man." So then we do see the scene where they do the Take It to the House 17th anniversary thing. They perform the Take It to the House, and then Trina, once they finish it, Trina was getting ready to perform one of her songs, and Trick put a stop to that immediately. So then we see Trina. She goes backstage. Trina is flipping out because he stopped her music. And I mean, I get where Trina's coming from. If he's not willing to work on our project with me, then let me focus on my shit. And then if he ever gets to the point where he wants to work on our shit, we can get together and we can focus on it and go from there. And we see the producers, they had to calm Trina down because Trina was just that pissed. And like I said, I understand where Trina was coming from. Like, that's fucked up. Like, you stopping her bag, as people say. I don't say that, but you stopping her from doing this shit when all she's trying to do is just get you in the studio so y'all can work on the music. So that way, when y'all do go do performances, y'all have new music to perform. Y'all just not performing old shit. Like, Trick has been a baby to me, being quite honest. All right, so next we see Stuart Little walking down the street looking like an Amazon rainforest. I don't really remember what that motherfucker said because I don't really 100% give a fuck about Young Hollywood, Stuart Little, Ratatouille. I don't give a fuck about him too much, but we do see that he is meeting up with Gunplay. So Gunplay is clean after last season, which I'm so happy. And you can, in Gunplay's interview, you can clearly tell that there's a complete difference between last season's Gunplay and him now. So we found out that Gunplay and Kiara have broken up, and then we found out that Gunplay, when they kind of separated from one another, Gunplay went into his DMs and started, DMing his ex-girlfriend, and he's talking about how, Kiara even saw a DM from Lamara. I'm like, I thought her name was Amara, but okay, we're gonna go with Lamara. And the whole thing that Gunplay was talking about, Gunplay sounded like he was stuck on fucking stupid, because he's talking about how, he's talking about what he went through last year, and he's talking about how he felt like Kiara wasn't down for him. And I'm like, nigga, you was on drugs. This girl stuck by your side. She told you to go to rehab or risk losing her. Like, I don't get how Gunplay could even come up with that in his mind, that, she wasn't down for him. She wasn't this for him. Like, she was a good woman to you. And if she needed a break, like, just be like, what, cool. Let's just have a break for right now. You need some time to yourself. I need a little bit of time to myself. I just got out of rehab. Let me deal with this, and we can work on things separately and then come back together as one cohesive unit. But no, this motherfucker goes to his DMs like, nigga, the fuck. So I think Young Hollywood, Ratatouille, Stuart Little, I think he told him that he needed to talk to Kiara. Again, when it comes to that motherfucker, I tune his ass out, because after last season, he rubbed me completely the wrong way. I think he rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. Him and Helga Pataki, which we didn't see her this episode, thank God. So then we see this scene where Gunplay does go talk to Kiara, and he's talking about asking her what's the definition of holding a nigga down, and she tells him, and what she told him, he was like, that's what you're supposed to do. And I'm just like, Gunplay, you making yourself sound ignorant and stupid as fuck right about now. Like, again, you were addicted to drugs. Like, you can't blame her for anything that she did. Like I said, addicted to drugs. So what the fuck? And Kiara was basically like, she just needs time. And I do not blame Kiara. Like, after all the shit that Gunplay put her through last season, the girl just needs time to herself, to think, to figure out what she wants to do. Like, come on, my nigga, think logically, Gunplay. And I actually like Gunplay, I really do. And I don't know. Hopefully things smooth out this season with these two. We'll see as the season progresses. All right, so next we're gonna talk about Amara. So Amara is back. She's in New York. She is doing very good for herself. She had that song "Insecure" that came out last year, which I love that song. I listen to it a lot. I should buy that song because I listen to it on Apple Music all the time, and then it comes up in my favorites on Tuesdays when it recycles some music for me. So Amara, here's my thing with you. I know you're doing acting. I know you got that movie on, I think BT Her or something like that, with Tammy Roman and Paris Phillips from Love and Hip Hop Hollywood. So what you need to do is work on your music. Do your acting. Do whatever you're going to do. Let this be your last season. Do like Cardi B. Be 2 seasons in and done. Do not pull a K Michelle. Do not come back to Love and Hip Hop Atlanta, New York, Hollywood, whatever franchise Mona might be working up next, which I think it might be Houston in New Orleans, because I think if I'm reading Mona's mind, because I think we all probably, if people who know that she's production is in Houston and New Orleans, Mona might be preparing herself for when Miami goes off, have something to come right in behind it. Like, I see you, Mona, bitch. Get your money, get your money, get your money. So yeah, Amara, just use this season to promote yourself even further and be done with this season. So once Amara finishes her performance, her manager is there, and he tells Amara that her phone has blown up and it was her mom calling her. And she goes home to her mother, and her mom has burnt her hand because she put her hand in the candle. I'm like, did you put your whole hand in the candle? And her mom said she forgot to turn off the candle. I'm like, how do you turn off a candle? You blow out a candle, but you don't turn off a candle. But okay. So then we see this scene where Amara and Jojo are meeting up with one another. And, this is the first time that those two have caught up with one another. Jojo lets us know that she and her dad, I don't think she said they've talked very much. She's still cut off. Her and her mom are both still cut off from her dad. Her mama had to go get a job in a real estate. I'm wondering if she's a real estate agent or if she's just working for a real estate agent as a, like a secretary or something. No shade to the mama, but just wondering. Speaking of Jojo has been upgraded to a main cast member this season. So Jojo is going to be the Love and Hip Hop Miami's version of Miss Nikki Baby from Love and Hip Hop Hollywood. Go Jojo. Fake body and all, and no storyline. Like, no storyline, but we're going to get into that in just a few minutes. Fuck, I forgot to mention what they were even talking about at the when they were meeting up. So they were talking about Bobby and Prince. That's basically what the whole conversation was about. Amara telling Jojo to watch her back when it comes down to Bobby, because Bobby is extra. She thinks he's messy. And what else when it comes to Bobby? Oh, how Jojo says that when it comes down to Prince and Bobby, she said Bobby was crying about they showed this thing where Prince was antagonizing him, and Bobby chased him and he fell, and he was crying about that. And how Bobby, now see, the story's changed with Amara, not Amara, but with Jojo and both Bobby. So, and I'm gonna talk about Bobby in a few minutes. But when it came down to Jojo was saying that Bobby feels that Prince is using him for his connections and everything. And I'm like, okay, y'all are all both on the same, y'all all on the same show. Y'all were all virtually unknown to us last season, so I don't know how one person can use one person over the other. But Mona said it just had to be a storyline, so we're going to use this as a storyline. Whatever. And, Amara was like, she gets along better with Prince than she would Bobby. And I'm like, okay, I don't know if I'm going to have time for this shit, because this is going to be like petty cliquish bullshit I see so far. It's going to be like a petty clique kind of shit. And I'm just not really interested in it, to be quite honest with you. All right, so next we are introduced to Jessie Woo, and we see her in church, and I'm like, Mona, you in these church scenes, bitch. You in these church scenes. You could have kept this church scene, because when Jessie Woo started singing, Jessie was completely pitchy, and I'm like, absolutely not. No way in hell. Ooh, didn't mean to say hell, but absolutely not. She could have kept that rendition of that song she was singing. No, ma'am. So, we see her mom, and she's talking about how her mom more so just wants to see Jessie more so into the church because her mom doesn't really agree with the whole comedy stuff that she does, which I didn't even, be honest with you, I've never heard of Jessie Woo, so I don't know anything about her. I didn't know she did, quote, comedy on, I guess, Instagram, social media, whatnot. I don't know. When it comes to Instagram comedy, I am used to Just Hilarious, Lala Scissorhands, Blame It on Quay, who is from here in Texas. Who else? King Karam, I think that's how you pronounce his name. Who else do I listen to? Just Living Baby. Those are the people that I know of when I think of Instagram comedy. So, talking on Jessie, we do see her. She's hosting this, what did she call it? Sister Circle? Sister something. What did she call that shit? Sister Talk Live. Okay, so it's she had some of the girls there with their mothers there. I know she had Jojo there with her mama. She had Joy there. She had Tip there. Who else was there? I'm drawing a blank. I can't remember. So they talking to the mothers and the daughters about relationships, and I forgot what the first thing was they asked. I really did. Because I was sorry, y'all. Some of the stuff I was blanking out on because I was fixing me some food when I got in from work tonight. So that's why I blanked out on a lot of stuff. But we're gonna do better next week. What else? So they were talking about dating. Then we found out why in the trailer we saw Francine Frensky, Bucky Johnson pull JoJo's wig. Because JoJo is in a, quote, relationship with Pleasure P, which JoJo was like, they hadn't really defined anything at this point. Well, bitch, it's defined now because your mama just said so. And, JoJo was like, I don't feel like Joy would be happy for me. And Joy's like, nah, I think you're a much better choice than that ratchet hood rat Francine Frensky, which I think we can all agree on that. But why would JoJo want to get involved with him? Baffles me. Like, if JoJo likes it, I fucking love it. Whatever. Who gives a fuck? So, then they start talking about Amara, because Jessie brings up the fact that her sister talk live thing that she's doing, her ex-manager went back and told another girl this stuff, and like it was a new idea that he came up with, and we found out that the girl is Amara. And when she was talking about Amara, she also said how Amara had a conversation with her ex-boyfriend and asked him, did he cheat on Jessie? And I'm like, oh my God, this is gonna be draining because they're all gonna be against Amara this season, which I already see that. So then, Tip is like, oh, well, there's a lot of people that need to have a conversation with Amara, because then she brings up the fact that Amara was in Gunplay's DMs, and JoJo's like, what, I gotta have a conversation with my girl because that's not something that I did. That's not how I rock. I don't rock with people like that. And while she's mentioning that, Tip decides to say, okay, well, if that's the case, she brings up the whole stuff between JoJo, Prince, and Bobby. And, they get into a little back and forth argument with one another. And Tip is like, you know what? I'm about to dip out before I go off on this bitch. I'm like, oh God, this is going to be a messy, messy season. And we just on episode 1. But, it's going to be interesting to see how this season plays out. All right, and then lastly, we got Prince. So, with this one, we see Prince, he's at a party that his dad is having. And Prince is basically telling his dad how he does not feel like the nightlife is for him anymore. And, Prince starts to tell us his story, how he and his father have not always been close, how he's been in adult jail, juvenile, XYZ. He ran off his whole life story. Wasn't really giving a fuck. And then we see Bobby and Tip show up. So we find out that Bobby, Tip, and Prince are really good friends with one another. And I'm like, ain't that something? And then they talk about the gay rumors. And one of those tweets that popped up on the screen, I'm like, oh shit. Like, I remember I liked that tweet. And I think I commented on that tweet too. But, honestly, God, I don't give a fuck. I mean, if Prince says he's not gay, we don't believe it. But if he says so, by all means, go for it. So then Bobby is having this conversation with Tip about the conversation that he had with Jojo. So like I said, originally when I was talking about Jojo said that Bobby said that he felt like, Prince was using him for his connections. But then Bobby says that Jojo was the one that said that Prince is using Bobby for his connections. And, Tip is like, you know what? Maybe she's jealous of y'all. Like, you need to just chill out and just really think about this. And I actually agree with Tip. Like, just chill out. Relax. You're thinking too deep into it. First of all, no offense to Bobby. I really do like Bobby. But what connections does Bobby have that Prince probably couldn't get himself? No offense. Again, like I said, no offense. But it was a good season 2 opener, episode 1. Like the video, leave your comments, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you guys later on for Black Ink Crew Chicago. And I'm also thinking about reviewing Grownish. I'm not set on it right now, but I'm thinking about it. So I will see you guys later for Black Ink Crew.